Okay, this is section 33.3, the respiratory system. And in this section we're going to look at the parts of the respiratory system, gas exchange, and the mechanics of breathing, and diseases of the respiratory system. So what's respiration? If you remember from the first term, we talked about cellular respiration, and basically what it is the breakdown of molecules producing ATP. But in order to do that, you need to have oxygen, and one of the products of that process is going to be carbon dioxide. So in your body, you've got to get rid of the carbon dioxide, and you have to take in oxygen for this cellular respiration to still occur. Function of the respiratory system is going to be to pick up oxygen and release carbon dioxide. And this will happen in the lungs, specifically in the alveoli. When you're looking at the structures of the respiratory system, we have the nose, the pharynx, the larynx, the trachea, and the lungs. Now in the respiratory system, you have a bunch of these little cilia, which are what are moving here. And these are like little hairs, and they help to brush away dirt, maybe little particles that are in there. They help protect the lungs from things getting into the lungs. And obviously if you have a lot in your nose or in your throat, you're going to cough, you might sneeze, and that helps to get these things out of your body and away from your lungs. The green structure here is a mucus gland, and this mucus gland is used to help moisten the air that you're breathing in, rather. So as air enters the respiratory system, it needs to be filtered, moistened, and warmed. That's why sometimes if you run in cold weather, your chest might hurt because the air is not warm enough when it hits your chest. So air is warmed in the nasal cavity and the sinuses, and mucus will moisten that air. Dust particles are caught, as I said, and then the air will move into the pharynx. And obviously, you know, you can breathe into your mouth too. So your pharynx is that area in the throat right before it decides if it's going to go down your windpipe, down your trachea, or down the esophagus. And if you remember the structure that determines that, right, that's the epiglottis. That's what determines whether it's going to go into your trachea or your esophagus. Now this pharynx is the passageway for air and food, and the larynx is where your vocal cords are, and then the trachea is that passageway to the lung, and that's what's going to go directly into the your bronchial tubes and get the air into your lungs. The trachea also will sweep mucus and particles away, and it moves it towards the pharynx, so it wants it to get out, not necessarily go into your lungs where you can get an infection or pneumonia. So the air moves into your lungs through the bronchi. Those are the two little branches here off the trachea. So the trachea is in the center here, and then on the left and right you have your bronchi, and those go into your lungs. Once they get into the lungs, you have what are called bronchioles. Those are the branches. And then at the very end of the bronchioles are alveoli, and that's where the gas exchange occurs. So let's see if we can go ahead and label this diagram. That would be your nose. This would be your pharynx. Is that right? Then this would be your larynx. This would be your trachea. Okay. And then the little branch to the right would be the what? Bronchial tube or bronchi. And then this whole thing would be your lung. Okay. So this gas exchange, as I said, occurs in the alveoli. So the oxygen, there's moisture in there, right? So that oxygen will dissolve in the moisture. And because the concentration of oxygen is greater in the alveoli, it will diffuse through passive transport into the capillaries. And then the opposite happens for the carbon dioxide. Since the concentration is greater in the capillaries, it will diffuse into the alveoli and be able to be exhaled. As far as transporting these oxygen and the carbon dioxide, we know that hemoglobin will transport it, and that will the hemoglobin really increases the blood's carrying capacity for carrying oxygen. And the carbon dioxide, a couple things can happen. Now, if the carbon dioxide does not leave the blood like it needs to, it can enter red blood cells, and it interferes with the oxygen, it being able to carry the oxygen. Okay, and it's called carbonic acid once it combines with water. It can also dissolve in the plasma of the blood, or it can even bind to hemoglobin, and that in turn would block the oxygen from being able to bind to it. So carbon dioxide it can be fatal with if there's too much in your blood. Here's another animation of the gas exchange in the blood. Okay, so as the deoxygenated or oxygen poor blood is coming in, carbon dioxide is dropped off and oxygen is picked up, and it goes on to the oxygen rich side of the capillaries, and then it would go from the capillaries out. Okay, so it goes from the capillaries, so into the alveoli, right? And then, the capillaries would then carry the blood to your pulmonary veins, and then to your heart, and then to your body. From your lungs to the pulmonary veins, and then to your body. You might want to stop here and go ahead and fill in your chart so it shows the movement of oxygen and carbon dioxide in and out of the respiratory system. So this part would be in, okay, until we got to here, all right, and then it starts the out. Right. Here's a diagram for you to color, just to make it a little more clear, a little clearer. In class, we'll watch this video. You're welcome. The link is there for you to go to YouTube to watch it, and it's just on the respiratory system. We'll stop this one here. Let's see. Oops, stop this. It's gone. And where's my little stop?